Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on the beautiful June the 13th, 2019. Ground of Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I have a literal hangover from the hockey game last night. What an exciting Game 7 in the NHL.
Yeah.
Got a little NBA that's being played tonight. We got the Pebble Beach starting today out there in sunny, hot California. Just a great day in sports overall.
Oh, it's a great day in sports overall. In fact, it's a great day in the sports universe. So much happening. Great game, as you mentioned, hockey last night. I still hear there's some Clydesdales missing in some of the horse farms in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm sure them good old boys in Boston are still, what do they call, singing the blues, Big C? There used to be a club in Boston called Cheers. Not a lot of cheers in Boston from last night. Everything swings to California. We have the Pebble Beach Open. It's beautiful down there. It's just gorgeous right on the Pacific Ocean. And then all of a sudden there's a basketball game in town called Game 6 of the NBA Finals, Golden State versus Toronto. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. As we always say, we just want to get right into it. There's a national suicide hotline for people going through some issues. A lot of veterans and even a lot of teenagers are out of school now. They need some help at times. You can call 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255, and you can get some help. Big C, I want to get your feelings. I know we talked about the NHL last night, and we can even start with the NHL since they've already crowned their champion, the St. Louis Blues. Some good old boy won, I think, $100,000 with a $400 bet. Give me your feeling on what you saw last night in Boston, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, I saw a great hockey game. You know, this game got off to a tremendous start. You know, the Blues took command early in the game, Charlton. But, you know, when you're playing Game 7 for the championship, you have to have the tenacity and the will to put your opponent away.
Yeah.
I saw Jordan Bennington, Charlton, play an outstanding game last night for the St. Louis Blues in gold.
Yeah.
He was dominant from the opening faceoff, Charlton. He took on every challenge. He didn't give up a goal until late in the third period, you know, with probably about 4 minutes remaining in the game. At that time, the game was on ice, literally. St. Louis was up 4-0, Charlton.
I like that, on ice.
But you think about all of those years of futility that St. Louis has gone through.
My goodness.
You think about the St. Louis Hawks, who are now the Atlanta Hawks, won an NBA title, Charlton, years ago in that city. The Los Angeles Rams won a title and left the city, just like the Hawks did. The St. Louis Cardinals have won titles and stayed around, but 49 years, Charlton, that the St. Louis Blues have toiled in hopes and aspirations of getting back the Lord Stanley Cup and hoisting it on the ice, Charlton, and they did all of that last night.
In fact, when you think of the most appearances at the time of winning their first title, whether it's NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, or the NFL, in history, the Blues 42 appearances in the postseason to finally break through for the 2018-2019 season. And also you look at the Capitals, they went 28 appearances before they got their win in 2017-18. You look at the Kings, the LA Kings, 26 seasons. I mean, you think they're just amazing. 26 appearances, and they broke through 2011-2012. And then the Pistons. Talk about the Bat Boys back in the day, 25 appearances before they broke through in 88-89. I want to get your feeling on what happened last night in Boston. You know, you had talked about it before. Bennington is a stud. He really is too young to know what kind of game he was in. He had a couple of expletives when they asked him what he was going to do to go celebrate. He said, you'll know when because he doesn't know what he's going to do. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I love the real raw emotion. And, you know, you can't always filter athletes and expect you're going to know what they're going to say. I mean, this is the reason why for years in television they had the delay button. But now everybody wants to go live thinking that athletes don't fuel themselves with raw emotion. And Jordan Bennington, a young man, Charlton, was that. When they brought him onto the roster, Charlton, they were in last place. They stuck him into the lineup. You know, and in his first 20 games, Charlton, he went 18-2, you know, in the pipes for St. Louis. And he just took command like he had always been there, like a seasoned veteran. But I think what you have with young players, Charlton, is that they don't have the nerves, you know, when it comes to that situation. They're just out there relaxed and playing. And that's what Bennington has done throughout this entire run. You know, you think about him dominating, winning 12 games, Charlton, throughout this Stanley Cup Series. And, you know, the most ironic part about St. Louis winning this championship, Charlton?
What's that?
Last year, the Washington Capitals won for the first time in their 45-year existence in the nation's capital. They hoisted Lloyd Stanley's Cup. The first round team that the St. Louis Block knocked off, Charlton, in search of Stanley Cup this year, were the Washington Capitals.
You know what? I think they found out that Ovechkin put something in that cup that helps you win, Big C.
Well, you know, it just shows that, you know, here it is as we look at the world of sports, Charlton, and how the dynamics have changed. You know, I know a lot of people say they're tired of the teams in Boston winning.
I'm not.
But you have to do what St. Louis did, Charlton. You have to go out and defeat the teams in Boston if you expect to win a championship. I give a lot of praise to that city and all the professional organizations in the great city of Boston, Charlton, because they have built winners. They have built franchises that are dedicated to success. Everyone starts the season on the same note, Charlton, with no victories. It's about the team that has the last 4 victories of the season that gets to celebrate. But also, when you think about celebrations, I think professional hockey, Charlton, has the greatest post-game celebration of all professional sports when you come down to championships.
Why is that?
The ultimate respect is paid by the losing opponent, Charlton, in the Stanley Cup, because they all face off just like you did when you started playing Little League Baseball. You go down the line and you pat everybody's hand. This is what's done in the NHL, the ultimate show of respect. You might be mad because you just played 7 games against somebody that you despise, that you wanted to drive through the ice technically. You wanted to make a smoothie out of them or some shaved ice. That's what you wanted to do. But at the end of that 7th game, Charlton, is that you line up per man and you go down and you give congratulations to your opponent for a job well done in executing and winning the championship, Charlton. That's not done in any other sport. We don't see that in baseball. We don't see that in football. We don't see it in basketball. We see players running off the court and off the field with their tails tucked between the legs in frustration. But the ultimate respect is given by hockey players, probably in the most demanding physical professional sport there is, when we think about the body slamming into the ice and into the boards and being hit by pucks and cross-check, Charlton. But the graciousness of the NHL and their players congratulating to the winners, even though the losers are frustrated, Charlton.
And I know what you mean. I like that they lined up and did it as opposed to just randomly all over the court. Think about what happened last night. The St. Louis Blues, they were 10-3 on the road in the postseason. They were only 6-7 at home. Everybody fights for a home court advantage, a home field advantage. Them good old boys, 10-3 on the road in the postseason. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, a dominant 10-3. You know, when they beat Boston in back-to-back games, Charlton, to even up the series, you know, Boston had not lost back-to-back games through the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. Tuukka Rask has been a stalwart in goal, but they got to him, Charlton, and they kept scoring. You know, they hit some amazing shots last night to get past the goalie. And so you tip your hat to Tuukka Rask. I mean, he came into the game last night, Charlton, only giving up 2 goals per game in the finals. I mean, he was a stalwart for the Blues, but the defense let him down last night. And let some goals get past him, Charlton, and into the net.
And you know, Boston really should have been up about 3-0 in the first period. Within about the first 5 minutes, they had so many shots that Bennington played outside of his mind, and that's why they walked away with the win. And think about this also. We talked about how dominant the Blues were on the road. 5th team with 3 road wins in a best-of-7 Stanley Cup final. They're only the 5th team to do that as they won the series 4-3. But what surprised me is that they won 4-1. And I remember, if you remember Game 1, they got up to a quick 2-0 lead, And then Boston came back. Them good old boys rolled up a 4-2 win. Well, I thought Boston was going to put these guys away because in the first 4 or 5 minutes, they had shot after shot on goal, but Benenden lived up to it. But the fifth team with 3 road wins in the best of 7, so no more home field advantage anymore, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, when you think about professional sports, it's about playing.
Yeah.
You play in whatever arena that you are.
Yeah.
If you're relying on home court advantage and home cooking for you to win, then you're not a professional. You have to take the opportunity to perform in every game, home or away.
Yeah.
And that's what the St. Louis Blues have done, Charlton, throughout the playoff run, is that you take on the opponent on ice. I mean, that ice is the same regardless of whether you're in St. Louis or in Boston.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about. It's about when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what happened for St. Louis last night. Not only that, St. Louis Blues center, Ryan O'Malley won the Conn Smythe Trophy, Charlton, for the MVP in the Stanley Cup also last night. This is the second time that he has won this trophy, Charlton. He's won it before with a previous team, but to hoist it for St. Louis after so many years of futility, Charlton, and having a city that embraced you, that was longing for a championship on ice, Charlton, and they were able to deliver last night.
Let me ask you just one about cities and civic pride, and then we're going to jump out to the Bay Area, Oakland, California. But you think about civic pride, and you brought it up to me before because we talked about Jurassic Park up in Toronto, Canada, and how every city became their own mini Toronto Park, whether you're in Calgary, Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Montreal, they were all over the place in Canada. Them good old boys in St. Louis, they were at the Cardinal Stadium. They were also, of course, in the hockey arena. They were all over the city. It's great that St. Louis, because again, this is the same state, Missouri, that dealt with a lot of flooding, and you need something. Not that this replaces anything, but it does let you take your mind off of some things that are not favorable. And what does this win mean for the city of St. Louis? They lost the Rams, and they lost the Cardinals before, lost the Rams. The Rams lose a Super Bowl. And many people in St. Louis felt that should have been their Super Bowl that they lost again to the Patriots. And then they win when people were hoping for the Rams. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this city embraced the St. Louis Blues. They've been there for 50 years, basically. They've been the heartstring of that town. They've always had the St. Louis Cardinals, the baseball team, that has always been a stalwart in the Central Division in the National League.
Yeah.
But to have this hockey team, Charlton, and to have the fans that have toiled for 49 years waiting on this night to come.
Yep.
When a team wins a championship, Charlton, it's about the city and it's about the fans.
Yes.
As a player, you'll always get that ring. You get to celebrate with the trophy for a year, Charlton, before you have to give it up unless you repeat.
Yep.
But the thing about it's the fans who savor what a team does. I can remember winning my first professional championship, Charlton, and the fans were so gracious that they felt that the championship was there, which it was.
Yeah.
Because they support you. Win, lose, or draw, they're always there. And they live vicariously through these sports teams, Charlton, regardless of what city you look at. So many people talk about Jurassic Park up in Toronto.
Yeah.
The fans that are outside the arena. Because it's something new in that city, Charlton. St. Louis, at Game 6, they had 60,000 people outside the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. 60,000.
Yep.
That's about 5 times as many people as they have at Jurassic Park in Toronto.
Yeah.
So don't just think that the Canadians are giddy about their sports team, Charlton. U.S. cities are, fan terrific.
Yep.
When you think about it. They live vicariously through these teams, Charlton. You have kids who wake up, trying to decide what they're going to wear based on what their team did last night.
Yeah.
So when you think about, don't give all the praise to Canada, because they didn't start this thing about having fanfare.
Exactly.
This is something that's always been a U.S. thing. It just happens to be polarized when you have one team in Canada.
That's very true. And speaking of just being able to win and hoist the Lloyd Stanley's Cup, I'm sure they sterilized it pretty good because Ovechkin kept it for a long time. I'm sure instead of champagne, they put some of that Busch libation, liquid libation that they love over in St. Louis, and really proud for the underdog coming through. Here we go again, Big C. The Splash Brothers. If you've ever been to California, I know you've been here many times. One of the most beautiful man-made landmarks in the universe lives in San Francisco. It's called the Golden Gate Bridge. It was constructed in 1935 with the Levi Strauss organization. And the Bay Area hosts the U.S. Open and the NBA Finals on the same day. The Golden Gate Bridge has the same starting name as the Golden State Warriors, Northern California Icons. Well, no matter what happens tonight in Oakland, it's a beautiful setting. It's the final game at the Oracle Arena in Oakland, California. They'll move across the bay to the Chase Center in San Francisco. But I want to get your feeling, the Splash Brothers in town versus Toronto, and I want to get your feeling on what you think is going to take for the Golden State Warriors to fix this issue of everyone being banged up and finally find themselves in a Game 7, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, of everyone being banged up is something that they've followed them since the Houston series, having players injured. But no one's really healthy this time of the year when you've played this many games. The thing with the Golden State Warriors is that they have to take the motion out of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what has gotten them in trouble, especially Draymond Green with all his technical fouls. You just have to go out there and play basketball.
Yep.
If you're sitting back relying on the officials to make calls in your favor, then you're not concentrating on what you need to do as a team.
Yeah.
The biggest question that they have tonight is who is going to replace the 11 points that Kevin Durant scored in the last game, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think a lot of pressure is off of their back now, Charlton, as far as wondering if Kevin Durant is going to play or is he going to come back. Now he's indefinitely out.
Yeah.
So that is no longer lingering over the heads of the Golden State Warriors. If we get through this game, will Kevin play the next game? Now the ownership is on all the teams, Charlton. You have 12 players or 11 players if they did not replace Durant who have to account for themselves in this game. You have to play this game like there's no tomorrow. You can't pull a Nick Nurse if you're Golden State.
Right.
Where I'm going to give my players a rest with 3 minutes to go in the game because I think that they're tired and they can't rest over the next 5 months. That's how Golden State has to attack this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have to attack this game like, okay, I'm not playing for the second quarter. I'm only playing the first quarter.
Yeah.
And when the second quarter comes around, I'm only playing the second quarter. I'm not looking for the third quarter because you're going to get your rest at halftime.
Yeah.
So if Golden State goes out and attacks this game by the quarter and not looking at the long haul and just play all out for 12-minute sessions, Charlton, they have an opportunity. But on the flip side, when you're looking at Toronto, this is a team of destiny right now. They've had every opportunity to close out the Golden State Warriors. They get one more chance again tonight. Which Toronto Raptor team will show up? Will this be the Toronto Raptor team that really is like a raptor who is a carnivore, who is a dominant, dinosaur, who's a dominant animal, who's going out there to rip his opponent to shreds?
Yeah.
That's how Toronto has to play tonight. Toronto has to get physical with Golden State. This is what they need to do. They have to take away Thompson and they have to take away Curry. Every time they touch the ball, they need to look to double both of those players. They need to force the remaining members of the Golden State Warriors squad to defeat them. They have to force them to make shots. And that's the thing with those guys, Charlton. If they're tentative tonight, Toronto will just blow them away. But when you look at the remaining 9 players on the Golden State Warriors roster, if they play any type of tentative game, this thing will be over at halftime.
Well, I hear that Mullen might be in the building tonight. They might need to bring him and put. They still got his jersey up in the Raptors. He can pull that down in Richmond. They can get them good old boys and what they call a Run TMZ back in the day. And they have so much energy in Oakland tonight, and sometimes momentum can carry you. But they know they're banged up, and they know that you can only play banged up so long. And I would think the key for Golden State tonight is to have the Splash Brothers combine for 60 points, and then find some points from Livingston and Iguodala and Draymond Green. I mean, they have so much going for them. The fact that they are at home. Nobody wants to see this be the sad night of Golden State. And I don't think Kerr has ever lost 3 in a row in a playoff game, especially at home. Bixby, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's always a time that things happen. And when you look at attrition that's on this team, Charlton, it's not about the coaching tonight. This is about the players on both sides of the ledger. Who has the will to go out and get it done? Like I said, Golden State's reserves, Charlton, cannot play tentative. They have to shoot the ball. Even Draymond Green, if he gets an open look at the basket, you got to rise up and take the jump shot. You can't always look to pass. You have to take the shots and the opportunities that are given to you when you go to State. You're not playing for tomorrow. You're playing for tonight. And that's the mindset they have to walk on the court with, is that we're leaving it all out here tonight because this is the last game potentially that will ever be played professionally in Oracle Arena, Charlton.
Wow.
And you don't want to go out there and you don't want to walk off the court saying, wow, if I had done this at this juncture of the game, things might have been different. This is the last opportunity to make an opportunity for yourself in this great arena, Charlton.
I want to get a feeling on just a couple of things, and I know it's always hindsight's 2020. And just talking to a couple of friends down in Vegas, they say watch the team that goes to the foul line the most, because that may just be the team that wins the game. If you're Golden State, if you're smart, let Curry and Thompson become the splash brothers, not the drive to the basket brothers. That means everybody else must try to get to the basket, whether it's Livingston or Iguodala or especially Draymond Green. Boogie Cousins has to play like he's looking for a contract with somebody next year and give some effort. Who they get off the bench, I have no idea. Maybe Bell comes in and saves the day. Same thing if you're Toronto. Van Vliet, these guys got to drive the basket. Sometimes the three's not dropping. Kyle Lowry, he needs to drive the basket. He missed that three because Draymond Green tipped it. But if Van Vliet would have taken the ball and driven the basket, they were getting the calls at home. Kawhi Leonard, he's going to try to impose his will inside because sometimes his three doesn't drop either. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, I think the biggest key for Toronto tonight is P.L. Siakam. I think he has to play a masterful game. Ever since he scored that 32 in Game 1, Charlton, he's been a suspect player. He's come down to earth. I think he will be the X factor tonight for Toronto. Van Vliet will knock down some threes, but Pascal Siakam is going to be the go-to guy for Toronto tonight. He has to score. Serge Ibaka has to enforce his will. He has to use his height differential against Golden State because Boogie Cousins can't stay with him. Bogut cannot stay with him. He's quicker than both of those guys. He has to be more assertive, just like Siakam does, going to the basket.
I love the thinking of this being an inside game. If it is an inside game, it probably can favor Toronto because they were getting the calls. I don't see the officials changing their ways tonight. For Golden State, though, they have to have the Splash Brothers in doing what they do best, and that shooting the ball and making it go through the basket. And that switch sound, when you hear switch sound, Big C, that means you actually made it, and they need a lot of that. I want to get your feelings on something else that is happening tonight in Golden State. We don't know who's going to win this game. I'm pulling for Golden State because I don't want to eat those fried pig feet that I already said we could extend our bet on, Big C. I know you wouldn't mind a bottle of California Finest wine. But if Toronto can knock it off tonight, the Golden State Warriors, it would be like Ali losing to Frazier. And we know that happened also. But think about teams that have won their first time a championship. The St. Louis Blues, they joined a bevy of recent first-time champions, 2016. The Cleveland Cavaliers got their first championship, 2017, the Houston Astros. 2017 also, the Philadelphia Eagles. 2018, the Washington Capitals. And then 2019, the University of Virginia got their first championship, and they did it in a conference where they were not expected to beat even Duke. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about teams, and that's the hunger, this is the changing of the guard. So many fans get stuck in limbo because teams have been good for so long. But, everything comes to an end eventually, Charlton. Timing.
Yeah.
It's what it's all about in winning a championship. It's about timing. You talked about the Eagles winning that championship in 2017.
Yeah.
The difference was probably 6 inches. Tom Brady couldn't get to a swing pass on a wheel route that he was thrown to.
Yeah.
And he dropped it. The one Nick Foles, he was able to catch his and get a touchdown.
Yep.
So it's about inches when we look at professional sports, Charlton, and timing. And this is where the Toronto Raptors are. They're on the cusp of making history, Charlton. It's about timing. They're the healthiest of the two organizations at this time. And that's what it takes to win a championship. I understand your thoughts, wanting Golden State to win, being a California boy and all that, Charlton. But professional athletes are competitive. Golden State is not going to lie down and say, we're just giving up because we're wounded.
Right.
This is the testament of a professional athlete, Charlton, is that you give it all at all times.
Yeah.
And that's what Golden State is going to be forced to do tonight, Charlton. If they expect to extend this to a Game 7, they have to give it all every second of the game. And Steve Kerr has to be judicious about the timeouts that he utilizes tonight.
Let me ask you something that I hope I don't see. I don't want to see anyone fouled out. Because sometimes watching a game and you hear other players come on TV, and I was just talking to several professional basketball players over the past couple of weeks. They talk about how soft the game is today, which I don't think is soft, but compared to 20 years ago and back in the 80s, it is a softer game. I don't want to see anyone get fouled out. I would hate to see that. That would be anathema to the NBA, because what did Larry Bird say? You think they paid money to come see you call time fouls or see me drop 30 points? If Draymond Green gets another technical, he'll be out for a Game 7 if we get that far. I also, Lowry's been in trouble before too. They fouled him out of a game. What is it that you would think Adam Silver would say to these officials about stay out of the way, let the guys play? A lot of guys are going to play with basic instinct tonight, Big C, and you don't want to see some guy with a whistle in his mouth calling a technical foul because he didn't like that a player said what Benedict said last night when they asked him what's he going to do to celebrate. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think this talk has been had with the commissioner and the officials and the director of officiating, is that this is about a championship.
Yeah.
This is about the players that have fought hard all year long, Charlton, through the 82-game regular season and the 4 rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. This is not about the officials. The officials should not even be noticed on the court tonight. I know they have to blow the whistle from time to time, but let the players decide this game on the court. There's going to be some physicality tonight.
Yep.
There's going to be some calls that are not made, Charlton. But this game should be decided by the players, not the emotions of an official.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I love so much about the atmosphere in Oakland. There's just so many people. I mean, Oakland has a lot of pride. It's a proud city. They lost the automotive industry back in the day. We know Oakland Shipping Yard is one of the vessels for bringing goods and services into the United States from the Pacific Ocean. A lot of people think Long Beach or San Francisco, but that bay brings a lot of produce and goods and services into California. And I want to get your feeling. I know you've been all over the country. In fact, you've traveled all over the world. If you can just compare, we talk about civic pride with Toronto and St. Louis and civic pride. Give me your thoughts of the civic pride in Oakland. There used to be Nate's Barbecue. There used to be some great places you could get some soul food in downtown Oakland. I'll never forget, I had some of the best peach cobbler and collard greens outside of my mom and grandmama's house in Oakland. Give me your feeling about the civic pride for both great cities, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about this team, Charlton, and this city. This city has had a long love affair with its sports franchise, and they brought multiple championships to this great city. It's starting with the Oakland A's, winning 3 World Series titles, Charlton, back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And during that era also, Charlton, the Golden State Warriors won a title led by Rick Barry.
Yeah.
You think about the Oakland Raiders, who have won championships, Charlton, in that same Coliseum. So this city and this civic area, Charlton, has been the hoist of championship trophies in all major sports that have played in that area.
Yeah.
So when you think about a community that has been vamped, that has been betrayed also,
Yep.
that's one of the things that this community is looked at, is that you talked about the city of St. Louis losing the Cardinals, losing the Rams.
Yeah.
Think about what Oakland has lost. Oakland has lost the Raiders.
Yep.
They left.
Yep.
And they're going to leave again. The Oakland A's are still around, but they came from another city. Ironically, they came from Kansas City and Philadelphia prior to getting to Oakland, so they're not a homegrown team.
That's right.
You think about the Golden State Warriors, Charlton, they're going back to where they started at. They started playing in San Francisco at the Cow Palace. That's where they originally played, but it was a small arena, only seated about 6,700 people, so they moved across the bay to the Coliseum at that time. Now it's Oracle, a larger arena. Now that they've been drawn back across the bay, Charlton, I can't say that they're really leaving. They're just moving across the water.
Oh, yeah.
You still have access if you can afford a seat in that new arena that they're building.
Well,
so, you think about what hurts a team, Charlton, what hurts a civic area is when that team leaves and those supporting jobs, those people that had a livelihood off of the events that were represented in those arenas. You think about the home dates for the Golden State Warriors, Charlton. There was 41 home dates during the regular season.
Yeah.
That local vendors got a chance to earn income.
Yep.
You think about the Oakland A's, 81 games during the regular season that local vendors had an opportunity to make local income. The Oakland Raiders, Charlton.
Yeah.
You had 8 regular season home games that local vendors earned an income to help supplant what they earned for the year.
Yeah.
That's the civic pride that people had that they're going to be losing with these two teams vacating the premises, Joe.
You talk about people being able to afford to see that thing. The great Otis Redding sang a song about it back in the day. It was called Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Maybe if you can watch, I know there's enough glass on this Chase Center in San Francisco. Maybe you can sitting on the dock of the bay, sit on the bay and look through the windows. The way I used to, as a little boy, look through Candlestick Park, because they had a lot of openings in that stadium before they closed it off. I don't know why they stopped all the kids from sneaking in, Big C. I thought that was anathema to kids. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I think every kid's grown up trying to sneak into a arena.
Yep.
You know, I had some fond memories when I was a kid, standing there looking sad and hoping that somebody would give you a ticket for a game to get in. And it worked many times, Charlton, and then you can have the little money that you saved to go in and buy yourself a hot dog and a Coke.
That's so funny. I love those days. It's all fair in love and war. I want to come back, and after we take the Big C pause, and I want to get Big C's thoughts. As we've talked about the game already, it's going to take care of itself, and we don't give out scores. I want to get Big C's thoughts on, some of the most clutch NBA playoff performances that you've ever seen in the history of the NBA. We'll take a Big C pause, and we'll come back in a moment and talk more about Big C sports and the world of the sports universe. All right, we are back with Big C Sports after the Big C pause. I'm so happy. I feel like Christmas. You just want to open that present for Christmas. Congratulations to Golden State and also Toronto for being here, and for everyone who loves basketball. I hope we see a Game 7. But Big C, I want to get your thoughts. Number one, we talk about Kerr. What does this put him? If they can pull it off and win another championship, if the Warriors can win Game 6 and somehow 7, and even if they don't, how will you rank Kerr when you look at guys like the great Phil Jackson, Barrett Albach, Pat Riley, and guys that can win 3 in a row? And I don't think Riley ever did it because they couldn't get there. Golden State's done 2 in a row. They're trying to make it 3 in a row. But give me your feeling on how would this make Steve Kerr look with those great names?
Well, I think that Steve Kerr is already there, Charlton, as far as what he's accomplished. 5 consecutive championships. Only Red Auerbach had done that before preceding him.
Yeah.
So when you talk about those other coaches, there's been some three-peats, but 5 consecutive trips to the finals, Charlton. I mean, it's about timing. It's about being healthy, and that's what Steve Kerr is looking at. I know a lot of people will say if Golden State loses that there needs to be an asterisk. No, it doesn't.
No.
You go out on the court with the best 5 you have at that time.
Yep.
There's no asterisk ever given in professional sports. It's stupid of sports writers and sportscasters to make that statement.
Yeah.
The players who go out and win a championship are the players that go out and win a championship. It's like last night with the St. Louis Blues. There's no asterisk, Charlton, because Boston lost. But Boston was the last team to win a Game 7 on the road when they did it in 2011 in Vancouver. There's no asterisk because they lost at home, Charlton.
Yep.
And they didn't deliver the 13th championship to the city of Boston in the last 18 years. Now they're stuck on 12.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at it, when you have an opportunity to play, you go out and play. It's like playing poker that sometimes I play too often. Every hand that you get is not going to be a good hand. Sometimes you're allowed to bluff and win. It all depends on your playing pattern. And sometimes you can pull one over your opponent when they don't know, even in a game of basketball or football. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors have to act like they're playing poker. They have to go all in as often as they can, John.
They got to do that. So I know that everybody's had their own opinion about what's going to happen in a game like this, and we really don't know, but I just expect to see something great. But I would like to find out, just from you, I want to get Big C's thoughts on what are some of the most clutch NBA playoff performances you've seen in history. I know we talk about Curry and how he's a splash brother. Thompson, he's a splash brother. We talk about guys like Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon back in the day, a splash brother. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird. We talk about Isaiah Thomas. Some of those great players, Chauncey Billups, Robert Big Shot Horry. Big C, give me your feelings on some of the best games that you've seen where you said, that's a bad man right there. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think a game that everybody forgets and don't remember, because everybody thinks about Willis Reed coming out on the court in 1969 with the New York Knicks versus the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 7. Most people forget Clyde Frazier in that game, Charlton. Walt Clyde Frazier went off that night for the New York Knicks. He lit up the Los Angeles Lakers, Charlton, for 37 points, had 14 rebounds in that game, leading to Knicks to their first ever NBA title. So everybody's always thinking about a superstar, Charlton. and everyone thinks about the modern day player because this is what they see on highlight shows all the time.
Yeah.
But to go back and think about the game, when the game was all about physicality, as you talked about when you talked to those old-time players.
Yeah.
You think about it, you going out putting up that type of performance against Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor Johnson, 3 Hall of Famers, and yet you dominate the night.
Yeah, that's very true. I love that thought of the great Walt Frazier. There's a thing about skin and bones, and every now and then you got to have a lot of meat on your bones, or guys that could run 40 pounds because they get them in the gym. But there's also some players. They don't lift weights. They just have stamina, and they don't want anything to affect their jump shot. What are any other players that you could think of that make you say that was a bad man, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think about Reggie Miller. Everybody talks about sharpshooters now in the NBA, guys knocking down the three-point shot. You got to go back and look at Reggie Miller, Charlton. He was one of the official and original three-point great shooters in the NBA. 1994, Game 5 against those New York Knicks that we were talking about. They were led by Patrick Ewing.
Yep.
Reggie Miller knocked down 9 points in 9 seconds in the fourth quarter, Charlton.
Yeah.
But not only that, he scored 24 points in the fourth quarter when the Knicks thought they had that game sold away.
Yep.
Reggie just broke the hearts of the New York fans that night. That's when he and Spike Lee had that famous choke scene with each other.
Yeah. I remember that. Reggie looked like he was just so skinny. You know, Olive Oil and Popeye? Olive Oil looked really skinny. But she was a strong woman because she ate spinach too. I'm sure Reggie Miller found out where Popeye kept his spinach. Other players that are just dominant, and oftentimes the young players, they think everything started and ended with Michael Jordan, and even younger guys think it started and ended with LeBron James. But give me your feeling on maybe some other great NBA guys that when you saw them play in the playoffs, you said, that's a bad man, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, everybody knows of the heroics of Magic Johnson in the 1980 Game 6 versus the Philadelphia 76ers and the Los Angeles Lakers, Charlton, when the captain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, could not play in that game because of a scratched cornea.
Yeah.
Magic just did nothing, Charlton. He just came out and scored a casual 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 11 assists to hoist the Lakers to a championship in 1980, Charlton, in his rookie season.
Yeah, that's amazing. And amazing when you bring up Magic and how Magic played and the era when he played against the great Dr. J. Of course, Dr. J was Magic before Magic showed up on the scene. And then he also got to play with the great Kareem Jabbar. And then he and Larry Bird came in and really changed the face of the NBA. And as Magic Johnson was exiting his greatness, he touched shoulders with the great Michael Jordan. And it was Magic Johnson that said, I think it was the Olympic game, even in practice, he said, don't get too close to Michael, they'll call a foul, Big C. I thought that was amazing. Give me your feelings also on other players. I mean, Jordan, obviously, he had that push off in Utah that helped them win. There was no offensive foul called on that because, like Magic Johnson was right. Other players that you have your idea, and when you saw those guys, that's a bad man, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, one of the greatest dueling performances between two superstars was 1984. Dominique Wilkins of the Atlanta Hawks and Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics. Dominique Wilkins poured in 47 points against the Boston Celtics that night, Charlton, in Game 5. Larry Bird countered with 34 points, Charlton, to the great Dominique Wilkins. But not only that, Larry pumped in 20 of those 34 in the fourth quarter to propel Boston to a win in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yep, he was amazing. I remember a lot of people didn't realize that Bird actually had better numbers than Jordan, even though Jordan's considered the king. I know they're not the same kind of athletes, but that good boy could shoot the ball. Give me another feeling, because a lot of the young players, they don't even know who those guys are, Big C. They might Google their names, but they didn't see them play, a lot of teenage boys. But give me your feeling on, I think maybe the best player now that people talk about, and who's going to replace him, we don't know. Any other players that when you look at that guy in the playoff performance, you say, my goodness, that's a bad man, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, let's look at LeBron James, 2006, the Eastern Conference Final. The Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics. LeBron James pumping in 45 points, Charlton, 15 rebounds in that game to clinch the Eastern Conference Championship, to get into the NBA Finals. Now, everybody of modern era knows who LeBron James is, but LeBron James was put to task, pushed to a Game 7, and he delivered. This was the reason why he went to the Miami Heat, Charlton, to win championships.
So, tonight, obviously, those great players that we've talked about, I'm sure will be having their eyes on Game 6 here in Northern California, Oracle Arena, to see Golden State and Toronto. And I'm sure many of them will have their ideas on how they could have performed in this play in this day and age when you can't really touch people. Before we close out on our coverage of tonight's game, it's just an exciting atmosphere. You would think there'd be a lot of tension in Oakland, but it's not. It's more of a relaxed frenzy, of course, but it's a relaxed feeling. It's kind of like...
Well, cannabis is legal in California.
Oh, we don't know if that's the case.
I don't know why you expecting people to be tense. I mean, all you got to do is go to a dispensary and get whatever flavor that you want. I mean, I don't know if Oracle is a smoke-free venue, but I can guarantee outside it's not just barbecue grills that are burning out there.
I thought they were barbecuing. I was saying, that's some funky smelling barbecue, Big C, but it's all fair and love and war. I do want to put to rest this talk that's been happening about Durant, because obviously listening to a lot of Bay Area media, there's some guys that I love. I mean, there's a guy by the name of Gary Ratness that's KMBR 680. I've listened to him when I was way back in the day. He's done on TV and radio. And, I mean, everybody has an opinion, and that's what he always says. There's just so much in media that I love listening to. But I would like to put to rest, and just my opinion, we have opinions too, this talk about Durant being forced to play a game when we all have choices. And he came out and said on his own he wanted to help his teammates win. And I hope that they win tonight for so many reasons. But give me your feelings on how we put because there's still some guys out there saying it's somebody's fault that a grown man that was not dragged onto the court got hurt. Anybody can get hurt, Big C. How do we put that to rest? Your thoughts?
Well, Kevin Durant was going to have surgery this month, regardless, Charlton. Whether he played in Game 5 against Toronto or he did not play in Game 5 against Toronto.
Yeah.
He was going to have surgery. He had an injury that was not going to heal on its own. It was going to require surgery. And Kevin Durant made a conscious decision to help teammates. As he said, his teammates, his family. This is what family members do. They fight for each other. That's what Kevin Durant did. He went out to fight with his family, to fight with his brothers, to potentially win a championship.
Yeah.
As an athlete, you leave it all on the field. You leave it all on the court.
Yeah.
You leave no doubt. There was a movie, Remember the Titans.
I remember that.
When the assistant coach said, leave no doubt. Leave it all on the field.
Yeah.
We want them to know that we were here. And as Kevin Durant has told the media on many occasions, you know who I am.
Yeah.
He didn't use Jordan Bennington's words, but he said, I'm Kevin Durant. Okay? But if he had said Kevin Bennington's word, who knows what the media would have made of it at that point.
Yeah.
But Kevin Durant said, you know who I am. I'm Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I am a competitor. I am a winner. I am a front runner. That's what Kevin Durant is. You know, everybody wanted to say Kevin Durant took the easy way out by going to Golden State. And that he went to a team that was already built to win championships. I've seen many players, Charlton, go to teams that were built to win championships and did not win championships. LeBron James failed 2 years in a row going to Miami.
Yeah.
That was a team that was built to win a championship. I've seen other players join teams. Charles Barkley joined the Houston Rockets back in the 90s.
That's right.
I believe it was in 95.
And the Jazz
they
knocked
had
them
won
out.
consecutive championships.
Yeah.
They didn't win a championship when Charles Barkley showed up, so did Charles Barkley take the easy way out going to Houston,
Yeah.
a team that had already won championships?
Yeah.
But since he couldn't succeed, he wanted to knock Kevin Durant, saying he took the easy way out.
Yeah.
He forgot his past and what he had done.
Yep.
Athletes all the time. Clyde Drexler went to Houston after they had won a championship. No one said he took the easy way out. They just said he went back home.
Yeah.
That's what they said about him. So as players pursue a championship, this is what the ultimate goal of a professional athlete. And I think the media is starting to see now that players are not interested in max contracts.
No.
They're interested
In
in
winning.
getting a championship. $100 million, $150 million, you can survive with that.
I'll
You don't
take
need
it.
210.
I'll
You
take
can
it.
survive with $150 million.
Yep.
So all the guys in the media that are envious of these athletes controlling their destiny,
Yeah.
back off of it. Have a cup of coffee. Sit down. Or something.
Have a cup of coffee or have something else that makes you relax. Maybe just a glass of wine, that red wine that I'm going to sing you when Golden State wins Game 7. That's just my opinion. But it's all fair in love and war. You know, out here in California, we talked about the Golden Gate Bridge. It's one of the most, it's a landmark. It's one of the wonders of the world, the Golden Gate Bridge, Big C. It was constructed in 1935. It's the opening to the San Francisco Bay Area. Commerce trade comes through there, under the bridge. A lot of turbulent water. But at the same time, right down the coast, about a 2-hour drive to Pebble Beach, Monterey, California, there's a beautiful golf course, the U.S. Open. A lot of good players are down there. The scenery is just, it might be the best in the world for any golf course anywhere. I know people have their own ideas of what's a great location to play golf, but it's just a place, it's a sight for sore eyes. And I think your friend Jim Nance even lives down there. And when you talk about today, you know, Ricky Fowler, right now he's tied for first. I don't think he's going to finish there. Just don't seem to have the stamina at times based on what he's done in the past. There's also Schauffele, I believe is his name. There's Oltenhuizen, and then there's Aaron Wise. I know Tiger's gotten some noise going. You also look at guys like Koepka, who's, I think he might be taking some HGH that a lot of baseball players are taking since they're having home runs, because he's hitting the ball and he wears his shirts way too tight, Big C, but he's a good golfer, and they're always thinking Tiger to have his comeback on the weekend, Big C. Give me your feeling on, number one, the beauty of Pebble Beach. I think you played down there before. Give me your thoughts on the tournament, your thoughts.
It's a gorgeous course, Charlton. I mean, it's on the bucket list of every golfer, just like Augusta is.
Yeah.
But when I look at Pebble Beach, Charlton, I like Phil Mickelson being in the mix when it comes to the weekend. The lefty always plays good on this course. Koepka, you can't keep him out of the running, Charlton, the way he has played this year. You got to look at what McIlroy did last week in the Canadian Open.
Oh, yeah.
He also could be in contention come this weekend. Dustin Johnson is a real long ball hitter, Charlton. Is it time for him to finally break through?
Well, we know they're always trying to figure out who's going to win what. It's just a great environment. And I know I'll even look at Tiger Woods because he does move the needle. And last I heard, you know, he was right around tied for 24th, shooting about 1 under. We don't know where he's finishing up. But at the same time, this is a place, Tiger's really come home to Stanford, where he went to Stanford. And we know how dominant he was as a young guy coming up. But do you think, as it's going to get a little bit warmer through the weekend, it's cool there right now over Pebble Beach coming off the Pacific Ocean. But I've heard a lot of older athletes say as they get older, they used to be able to go out and play in the heat all day. But as it gets older, when it cools off, it helps them. Tiger's a little bit older now. Does that make any sense where as you get older, the cooler air will help you win better? Mixie, your thoughts? I think we have a hard time with your microphone, Big C. We're going to see if we can clear that up and come right back in just a moment. Okay, Big C, we got you back on the mic. I think we had a little, you know, I think POTUS said if I was just watching some CNN last night, they were asking POTUS if the Russians or any foreign entity were trying to have some inside information on an election, would he want to hear it? He said, yeah. You're supposed to turn it over to the FBI. I think they hiked the Big C line. Also, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, he said he will take any help that he can in winning a campaign.
Yeah.
And the FBI director didn't know what we're talking about when he said that was illegal. So
Yeah.
I guess it's a one-man band when you look at it.
It is
So
a
when
one.
we get back
Yeah.
to Pebble Beach and you talk about older golfers wanting it to be a little cooler,
Yeah, a little
something
cooler.
to cut down on the fatigue on the body, that also bothers athletes who've had bone surgery.
Yeah.
I know myself, when the weather gets a little chilly, my body starts to tell me about it even before I get out of bed.
Oh, really?
So that could be something that's hindering Tiger, Charlton, if the weather stays chilly.
Yeah.
On Pebble Beach, you think about the knee reconstruction, the back surgery that he's had, Charlton. So he could have problems if the weather gets cool.
Give me a feeling on one more thing that I just want to bring up. It's not really an issue, but I'm noticing they were showing some pictures of some great golfers that have won, just watching the Golf Channel throughout the day. And if you didn't have a Tiger Woods, or you know, it's almost as if, how did golf remain so segregated in a world where everybody talks about inclusion, and we still have, we know it's pricey. We know sometimes people don't want to share, you know, the goods, and it makes it difficult for people to even get started in the game. But have you noticed that it's a segregated sport, and we're in California, and no one really brings up that issue? Does that make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you're not going to find golf courses in the inner city. You would find basketball courts.
Yeah.
You used to find baseball diamonds all the time, but those have been taken out.
Yeah.
So basketball courts were the things that were most readily available to inner city kids. You had to be a suburban kid, Charlton, to be able to play golf generally.
Yeah.
You had to live outside the city limits to have access to a golf course. So this forbade a lot of minority kids, Charlton, over the decades from playing golf.
Yeah.
Is that they didn't have accessibility to the golf course. Most bus lines didn't run to the golf course, Charlton. And not only that, the green fees were just prohibited.
Yeah.
Where you could go out and play a basketball game if you had a basketball with no charge.
Yeah.
And even a tennis court, Charlton, a lot of those weren't readily available inner city. You think about the Williams sisters, Charlton.
Yep.
Their father had to take them to a certain area of Compton just to have access to a tennis court. They weren't on every block like a basketball court.
Yeah, and I noticed as a person in media, also down at Pebble Beach, there's not a lot of influence in media either. And I know, I just oftentimes, because I know so many of my white brethren, they know that too. And I just wonder if they're still comfortable with that. I mean, we talk about the opportunity for women to get into, Title IX and having opportunities. Equality is important. I know it's important to people of color. I'm not saying anybody has to do anything that's not in their heart. But I just wonder, in a world where we love NBA basketball, especially our white brethren, they'll be all over Oracle Arena tonight. And they love the black athlete while he's playing. But I wonder if there's an outreach, and I saw some people in soccer having an outreach. They want to reach out to youth and inner city kids and kids in Latin America. But it's amazing how mainstream media says nothing. That golfing on the media side is just as white as it's been for the last 100 years, and no one seems to make an issue of it. And if people like myself or you, if we don't talk about it, maybe people will say, well, we don't want to talk about it. Is there anything that we can do to change? I don't know, maybe people don't want to change. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, golf has always been a segregated venue.
Yeah.
There are still country clubs that the PGA plays on that are still segregated, Charlton, where there's no black membership. So golf is what it is. It is an elitist sport, Charlton, that was based on finances when you were growing up, just like tennis was.
Yeah.
But when you look at tennis, the racial divide in tennis is just as large as it is in the world of golf, Charlton.
Yeah.
So this is not a game. As I said, it's about geographics, where you live. You're not going to live in the inner city and have accessibility to a country club where you can go out and play. Not only that, the green fees, Charlton, just to go out and play. It is prohibitive to most kids. When you go out to play around the golf, you just don't have that spare money when it comes down to eating that week or playing around the golf, Charlton. Kids are going to eat.
They're going to eat. In fact, there's some free meal programs that are going on all over the country, and I hope that a lot of people can Google free food for kids. A lot of times people don't have anything to eat when they're not getting a free meal at lunch. I want to quickly touch on baseball tonight. Just the lineup, the schedules. Toronto's at Baltimore. Arizona's at Washington. The LA Angels are at Tampa Bay. St. Louis at New York. I know St. Louis is probably, the whole town is happy about that. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a hard time playing the Yankees tonight. Texas at Boston. And Boston, my goodness, the Red Sox got to really, what they got to do, fix the blues that are going on in St. Louis or in Boston tonight. Big C, Detroit at Kansas City. New York Yankees at the Chicago White Sox. San Diego Padres at the Colorado Rockies. The Chicago Cubs, I love the Big C in the uniform, at the LA Dodgers in matchup games. Pittsburgh at Atlanta, Seattle at Minnesota. How does Boston play, knowing that a lot of their brethren they got a lot of beer poured on them last night? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think the game of baseball and the game of hockey are so separate. When you think about being a professional athlete, you concentrate on the task at hand. It's just like with Boston moving up their game yesterday so that people could have an opportunity to concentrate on the Bruins game. Now it's back to the task at hand, playing baseball.
Yeah, and it's a great sport. I know a lot of people focused on NHL last night. NBA tonight, and then also Pebble Beach down in Southern California. And I'm just happy about all the great things that are going on in sports. I want to just finish off this thought with the Oakland Raiders. HBO has selected the Oakland Raiders to be on their Hard Knocks program. In this preseason, going into training camps, the Raiders have three quarterbacks. You look at Derek Carr out of Fresno State, Mike Glennon out of North Carolina State, and then Nathan Peterman out of Pittsburgh. Gruden has come here and he's done things his way. And by doing it his way, he got rid of a lot of players that had helped the Raiders reach the last playoff game under the great fired Jack Del Rio. What is it about John Gruden? If you take away Tony Dungy's players at Tampa, he's also a coach with a losing record. You can Google it. What is it about him that makes him for a Hard Knocks series special? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, everybody wants to see the dysfunctionality with the Oakland Raiders, Charlton. With all the new players that got in, you got Antonio Brown, you got Vontaze Burfict, Charlton, and you got John Gruden. You got Mike Mayock as the GM. But, every Raider fan in Raider Nation needs to hope that Derek Carr doesn't get hurt. That's what they're praying for.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about Mike Glennon, number 2 on the depth chart. They couldn't wait to get him out of Chicago after they signed him to a lucrative contract from Tampa Bay, Charleston.
Yeah.
He lasted about a game and a half in Chicago before they cut him.
Yeah.
And not only that, Nathan Peterman, I think he's still throwing interceptions up in Buffalo. Every time he gets into the game, the DBs know there's 2 or 3 coming their way.
Yeah.
So the Oakland Raiders are a team, Charleston, that's one play away if they lose their starting quarterback from being in the abyss all over again.
Yeah, and I just want to say for the late Steve McNair and the Eddie George is doing broadcast, the Titans, Tennessee, they're retiring their jerseys. That's a nice move, especially for Eric McNair and Eddie George, how they played for that great Titans team that was so close to at least tying the Rams in a Super Bowl. Just give me your thoughts on the class of that organization making that move, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charleston, just a very classy and heady situation. Even though McNair didn't finish his career prior to his death with the Titans, he ended up with the Ravens, but he took the Ravens into the playoffs, Charleston, to one of the best records that they had ever had. Eddie George also finished his career as a Dallas Cowboy, but that team bringing those players back into the fold and retiring their numbers for what they had done overall for that franchise.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And, we love so much about the sports world. We've covered the NHL. Congratulations to the St. Louis Blues. We're looking at Pebble Beach. There's a lot of great golf to be played over this weekend, and the weather's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We know baseball, they're still swinging the bat, but everybody's focused on Northern California, Oracle Arena, to see this the final game. No matter win or lose, it's the final game in Oakland for the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of people, it means a lot to them, especially a lot of old-timers that may not be able to go across the bay, not only because they can't afford it, but a lot of kids, they don't really get out of their own community sometimes, Big C. But so it's a good and bad time for the Bay Area. I do want to say, as far as Big C Sports, I love what we do with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the iHeartRadio podcast. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Spreaker. You can find us on YouTube. YouTube's doing the NBA Find Us Tonight in Oakland. You can also find us on Xfinity Comcast on television. You can follow what I really like is an app. If you have the app called Alexa, when you walk into the house, say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You hear our sponsors, and then you hear our show come up. And we really appreciate our sponsors for all of their support. So I'm happy about everything that's happening tonight. And in the last minute again, because this may be the time that we sign off from Oracle Arena, I believe we'll go back to Toronto. That's just my belief. It's all fair and love and war. Las Vegas has Golden State at a 3-point favorite. I know there's fool's gold sometime. Some people say they'll even win by 10. What is it about Vegas that's usually right? They had Golden State a 1-point favorite last time they played in Toronto. If Toronto wins tonight, it'll be the 5th time in a row that the road team has won. What is about Vegas that has a 3-point favorite for Oakland, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about the dynamics of Las Vegas, Charleston, this is what they spend their life doing.
Yeah.
Laying the lines on basketball games. They look at all the tangibles that are involved. They're looking at the emotional factor tonight. This is the reason why they have Golden State favored. They're knowing that the Golden State Warriors have nothing to lose by leaving it all on the floor tonight.
Yeah.
It's going to be the final home game of the season.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm looking forward to it. For everybody, make sure you keep your kids safe. If you have anyone going through any kind of issues, you can reach out to them. There's an 800 number, 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255, 838-255. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, Charlton, unfortunately, I'm not going to be sitting on the dock of the bay watching the Tide roll away tonight. I'm hoping to be able to stay up long enough to see the finish of the basketball game.
Yeah, well, we all hope we can stay up long enough to see the finish of the basketball game. And hopefully you're not sitting on the dock of the bay. That means you didn't get a ticket to get in. But it's all fair and love and war. We want to tell everybody you can find out what's going on in sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, or the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C, and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone, call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.